Hey, welcome back to another episode of Geekified. We like to stay with the underdogs of cinema for our occasional reviews, and we're staying with another underdog that didn't get a huge release, and that is Mass. So Mass was released a few weeks ago from where you're going to watch it. Didn't get a lot of press. It's still randomly advertised in different places. It's mainly on Sky, and it's a very interesting film. So I'm going to say before we start to review it. So hi Nathan, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah. So
excited for this review. This review.
I am excited. I'm genuinely excited to talk to you about this review because we spoke about this for a couple of weeks. We watched it a while ago. Unfortunately, obviously, it was taking us a while to get back into the swing of things, back to do the Geekified reviews, taking us a bit of a time to get back up to it, but we're back. This was reviewed. I watched this 3 weeks ago at least now, and it was basically just as it was released, and you told me about it. I never really knew about it. It completely passed me by. Watched it and absolutely blown away.
Yeah.
This is by far possibly one of the best acting. Mm-hmm. I can't qualify this on cinematography because there's not enough of it. And that's the only thing I would say about that. But
very powerful cinematography, though.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, we'll break in a wee bit more about that. But by far, this is possibly one of the best acting films I have seen by 4 people. Actually, 5 people, 6 people. There's only 6 people in it. 7 people in it.
Seven people in it.
There's 7 people in this entirety of this movie, and it's filmed in 2 rooms. 2 rooms. That's all you get.
Yeah, really. Yeah. And a little bit outside, but not much.
Yeah, a hall. One room, a hall, and the main room. Everything is done. Yeah. And easily, and I'll say this for a long time, it's moved straight into my top 10. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best acting movies I've seen. This is, for anyone who's ever wants to learn how to act, who wants to watch people acting, and this is one of those movies that I would always recommend someone to go and watch, to just sit down, watch this movie, and you'll see a powerful performance. That's all I've got to say. Nathan.
Yeah, I mean, I read quite a lot and watch quite a lot of things around, the mass shooting thing in America and school shootings and stuff like that. Which is what drew me to this. I was looking at reading something else, and then this popped up in my YouTube, the trailer, and that's when I sent it to you originally, way back when. And I noticed it came out on Sky, so I watched it, and yeah, like you said, it's just. I mean, at the time I said to you, I think it's a really useful discussion to talk about why films like this don't get nominated for like Oscars and Golden Globes and things, because you won't see a better dramatic performance from any of the 4 leads in this in anything else. There wasn't a poor performance in it, and just I mean, I think it's so difficult. I mean, you'll know better than me, Chris, because obviously you did acting, but it's so difficult to get across that much emotion just by speaking. Because they're sat down in one place for almost the whole movie, and they're just talking, to each other at some points, at each other at other points, to themselves at some points as well, and and even the evolution of characters just in that over the space of this, other than Anne Dowd's character, the killer's mother, who's quite similar the whole way through, because you can see that she's come to some sort of acceptance at the start, but then you see a bit more vulnerability at the very end again. But the rest of them, it's like, there's you see this range of emotions come through from them, but even like the Anne Dowd's, I'm not sure if he's still her husband or ex-husband in this. It was a bit unclear.
Yeah, it wasn't very clear. I don't think it was.
Yeah, but at the start, he's almost like angry at the other people, for wanting, and then he slowly becomes more sort of, the emotion starts to come out of him a bit, because I think he sort of thinks they're there for the money or they're there for fame or whatever, and and then he slowly, more and more of his personality comes out, and even to the point where Jason Isaacs, I love Jason Isaacs anyway. I love him. And I thought in this, he was normally he plays a more sort of action type role and a bit more a cheeky chappy sort of thing. Whereas in this, he's just, the range of emotions he goes through in this is just phenomenal. And I mean, Martha Plimpton, I mean, the last thing I remember seeing her in was bloody Lost Boys, you know?
Yeah.
30 years ago nearly.
I mean, every single one, I mean, like, I'd probably say, obviously, Jason Isaacs is the main guy in this film, but every other actor has done lots of different work. You can see them in different TV shows, different movies, but none of them have ever excelled to, I mean, obviously, Isaacs is probably the high cast.
I think and Dowd now with Handmaid's Tale and obviously Leftover maybe as well.
Yeah, nobody's kind of hit home with their name, if you know what I mean. They say Jason Isaacs is definitely the kind of power of the film, but not the power of the acting. And that's what I'll say, like, because I can't take away from the other three actors, well, the three main actors in this, because whereas Isaacs is absolutely exceptional in every single part of this, and his portrayal of just where he went from at the beginning when he was coming in to at the end of the film is just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
And then obviously his wife, Martha Plimpton, in this, I mean, she comes in very sort of skeptical and stuff like that, and obviously and by the end, she, you know, she's not trying to forgive. She doesn't forgive the person that's killed her son, but she's she came in as a blaming the parent. I mean, they both come in a little bit blaming the parents, and you see right at the very end when Anne Dowd's character comes back into the building that basically she's saying that she blamed herself at that point as well, and I was almost crying at that bit. It was so powerful.
See when she came back in. See when she came back in. Obviously, spoiler alert. See when she came back into the building, I was done. I was genuinely tears in my eyes. I was so fucking. I was already half crying earlier on when they were getting all breaking down at the table and all that. But there's a moment at the end of the film where she walks back in, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And like you kind of knew what was coming. You just knew what was coming. You didn't know what she was going to say, but you knew it was some sort of apology or some sort of blame or some sort of another absolute full pelt of emotion.
Yeah, and it sort of went completely full circle where the other family end up comforting her and, you know, feeling pity for her, which is you know, that sort of, it was just, I think it was really intelligently made, you know, and the scripting was just phenomenal because, you know, it's such a clever, because I think it comes across, I mean, I don't want to condone in any way people that perpetrate these shootings and stuff like that, especially at high schools and stuff like that. Yeah. But you see a little bit that that guy was a victim as well, you know. And even the bit when the father talks about the memorial service and about how he wanted to go to that. And I've read this before because I read another non-fiction book, a fiction book about Columbine by Wally Lamb. I can't remember what it's called now. But I didn't realize, but this is a true thing where they made an extra 2 wooden crosses for the 2 people that committed Columbine, and they were forced to take them down. And that sort of links in with what he talks about in this as well. So it's got that sort of part where basically people saying, you know, that, yes, they did a terrible thing, but were they partly victims as well, you know? Yeah.
I mean, that is exactly what this film orchestrates. It orchestrates your idea on the basis of, like, I mean, for so long in this movie, I hope you've watched this before we actually go really further in deep. For so long of this movie, you don't know what's happened, and I think that's one of the most beautiful things of the movie. You don't know, and I mean, you're talking 45 minutes into this movie, you're still trying to work out what's happened. You don't know if it's an accident. You don't know if there's been a fight. You don't know if there's been a car crash. You've no idea until it gets to the point. I think it's Jason Isaacs again actually eventually comes out and says everything.
Well, even before he says what's happened, he says that, you know, he made a pipe bomb. It's the bit, and he shouts at him, you know, he made a pipe bomb. What do you think? You know, and that was the bit that sort of got my attention massively. It's just like pipe bomb. What the, you know?
Yeah, so that's the thing, like, you don't actually know the story of what's happened. You're given just bits. I mean, like that, they're saying like that pipe bomb was just a bit of a story and another bit of a story and another bit of a story until eventually you put it all together and you realise exactly what they're talking about. And it's obviously a mass shooting. And
even at the very start where they're asking about each other's kids and stuff like that, and he starts talking about the sister. Is it the sister, isn't it? And because it's been a couple of weeks since I watched it, I'm trying to remember the sister, and then he says, "How's your daughter doing?" And he sort of, they go, "I mean, she's all right, and it comes out later on that she's not all right. You know, she's gone through some major, like, serious stuff. She doesn't sleep, and she's got mental issues because of what's happened and stuff like that. And it's just this sort of seeding this. It's very much remind you'll be the same, Chris, because you're your dad's of us, well, a bit younger than my dad, but he's from the same sort of part of the world, southwest Scotland, where men don't show their emotions.
Yeah,
and they've got that sort of searing thing underneath them, and Jason Isaacs does that so well in this. It just sears under, and then every now and again it explodes and comes out, and then he brings it back in and goes, "Oh, I'm sorry about that," and then goes again. And it very much reminded me of how my dad deals with big emotional things. He'd keep it all in. It'll come out every now and again, and it'll go back in again. Because he doesn't want to show weakness.
And I honestly, there's so much of this film that I want to talk about. There's so much about the story. There's so much about the writing. There's so much about the acting. I mean, like one of the most beautiful things that I can say about this movie, if I was going to break it down, is like, you look at an action movie, or any movie at that matter. If you take any movie and you take the plot points of a movie, you get the start, the middle, the end. You have to build up. There's obviously an antagonist, a protagonist, and it builds up and it goes through this. If you want to know how to make a movie, this is like a blueprint. This is basically, this movie is literally a blueprint of how you start a movie. You kind of get told a little bit by bit and building up to the end, and then get a bit in the middle, and then you get a little bit just before the end again that tells you that things are not quite over, and then you get the ending. This is one of the most perfectly, and I mean perfectly, written movies that I have seen in so long. It's stunning, absolutely stunning.
I didn't actually look into it. Was it completely scripted, or was some of it improvised?
It was scripted. Parts of it. Yeah, I think there was a few bits of it where they were improvised, where when they were getting up and stuff. But everything I could see, it was mainly scripted. But it was like, here is the story. You get to this point and etc. So. But
I mean, even the title of the movies, I mean, it's so clever. Mass as in mass shooting, and mass as in church and repentance and and forgiveness and stuff like that. It's really, really take your wine and your wine and your bread, and ask for forgiveness from and that's basically what they were trying to, on both sides, they were trying to do. Because the Jason Isaacs and his wife in this, they talk about how they've done bad things as well, and they said things they shouldn't have said and stuff like that. And then obviously the other starts off with, they're trying to basically, I mean, it's such a weird, I mean, you see it a lot in the press when you see something bad happens, and you see the parents of the person, and they're like, everyone's like, well, how can you feel that way about them and stuff like that? Because it's their son, at the end of the day, it's their baby, they're going to have that love for them, no matter what they've done almost.
That's just something that I did. You don't particularly understand it, and especially after you watch a movie like this, you kind of understand where they're coming from, and it really delves deep into and kind of analysis of how a parent would think about their own child given what they've done, or whether or not they're a victim.
I mean, one of my favourite novels of all time is We Need to Talk About Kevin, which is also a great movie. Obviously, Lynn Ramsey directed it. Lynn Ramsey or Angela Arnold? I always get them mixed up. Directed it with Tilda Swinton, and this is it's almost the same idea, and if you've never read the novel, the novel is phenomenal. Honestly, I mean, there's only twice in my life where I've been reading a book and I've had a physical reaction to reading it. I was like, when you find out what's happened in it, I gasped. I was sat on a train and I went when I was reading the book, and doesn't happen that often. And this has had a sense. I mean, I watched this on my laptop actually. This movie, and normally I watch it, and I was need to go to the toilet at one point, and I didn't. I sat there, even though I could have taken my laptop with me. I just sat there like transfixed to it, and it's just under 2 hours, I think. Hour and 40, hour and 45.
Yeah, it's not
I think
really long.
Yeah, and you think a movie that's just four people sat in a room talking. It's a bit like the Ethan Hawke film and Uma Thurman film Tate, and it's just them in a room.
Tate, Mark Ruffalo film I was thinking of. X, Y, X.
Yeah. They just sat about in a room talking, and it can get boring, but this one just didn't, And I think one of the most powerful shots in the whole thing is they have quite a heated argument at one point, and it just goes to the fence with the ribbon on it, the red ribbon, and it's just like, obviously that red ribbon is symbolic of, maybe people wore that red ribbon after this happened or something like that, and
it broke you away from everything so much as well. So leading on to something that is obviously very cinematography or directorial, it leads me on to Fran Kranz, who is the director of this. This is this guy's first film directing.
That's a bold move, isn't it?
Isn't it? And I'm going to CC in, or not CC in, as if it's a bloody email. You know what I mean? I'm going to tweet Fran Kranz and just send him this review, because, dude, if you ever watch this, it just genuinely, I am in absolute awe of a director who has made a film so bold and so freaking well done. This is incredible, and I'm honestly, and I desperately want to know what you're doing next.
Did he write it as well?
Do you know? I don't know. I know his direction. I've got it. I should have it because I pulled up his name.
I think it's almost like following the sort of, you know, the Clint Eastwood way of making movies. You know,
yeah, he wrote it as well. Dude, Frank Kranz, please watch this. We're in awe, genuine awe. If you ever want to come on and talk about this, we'd love you have you on Geekified, just to have a chat with you, just to talk. Please. Honestly, we've got a couple of really big interviews coming up. If we could get someone like you, I know it's your first film, we'd love to talk to you and just delve deep into your ideas and what made this film, because holy shit, it's incredible. What a film. Yeah,
but like you said, like I said, I mean, why is it not being talked about for, you know, Oscars or something? You know,
so this is what we went to. Right, so we've obviously, in our last episode, you issued a couple of days ago, was Titan, which is the Palme d'Or winner, which we've literally came back and done a review on and said possibly just right in the middle of being the P word for Nathan. It could have possibly been it, but might not have been it. It was just there. And then we've got another film like this that is probably made on even lesser of a budget with next to no money. Some of the best actors that is available in Hollywood. Best actors, not the glorified actors. Yeah. And it's getting nobody talking about it, nobody questioning it, no awards, no nothing coming towards it.
I think it's, I mean, if you look at, I always, as one example I always use is back in the day, Requiem for a Dream, one of Darren Aronofsky's second movie. I've read the book as well by Hewitt Shelby Jr., but, you know, the performance of Damon Wayans and Jared Leto and Jennifer Connelly in that movie, even like, I forget the guy's name now, but the performance of them in this, and Ellen Bernstein, sorry, as well, the performance of them in this movie, and that movie, I mean, it's some of the best, it's one of the best made movies I've ever seen. It's some of the best acting I've ever seen, along with this movie that we've just watched, Mass. But it's not in that conversation. It might do well at something like Sundance or, you know, the Venice Film Festival or something like that. But if the Oscars are supposed to represent the best in acting or direction or screenplay, but then basically, I was thinking about this. I watched the Being the Ricardos, whatever it's called, the one with Nicole Kidman and Antonio Javier Bardem, which is it's a good film, but it's just mimicry. You know, it's mimicry, and every year, even something like what's it called, the Truman Capote one with Philip Seymour Hoffman. I like Hoffman; he's a great actor, and it's a good movie, but it's mimicry. You know, it's just copying somebody. You know, whereas this is like genuine acting. It's eliciting emotion. It's, you know, they don't have anything to work off. They just, you know, work with each other. I mean, I'd imagine this was probably worked out quite a lot, this sort of movie, because it's not filmed in one take, but it's got that look about it. You know, it's in real time almost. And, you know, they must have workshopped it quite a lot. And it's just like to build that rapport with each other, you know, you get that real feeling of tenderness between the couples, you know, that feeling of distance between the other couple and stuff like that. That doesn't come by accident. That comes from being like mastering your craft, doesn't it? You know, and so why does something where you've just get Nicole Kidman who goes out and pretends to be someone else and wins 4 Oscars or something, you know?
Yeah, dude, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I really couldn't, because I mean, this is pure passion, pure, just unadulterated acting. It's just a character who doesn't exist. Then all these 7 actors altogether really have put absolutely everything into it and made these characters that don't exist and made them real and made them passionate and made them just, I mean, like I said, it was like, if you can elicit emotion from me from a film, you've won. You've already won. And I will remember this film for a long time. And I'll remember this film because I'm going to say something else about the film before it gets to the end of this episode. But it's beyond exceptional. I think the performance of the people in this film is incredible.
I did read it. I did read it. It got nominated for something, but I can't remember what it was now. I did read something. Not like one of the big awards. It was nominated for something. I can't remember which it was. I meant to write it down because I knew you were going to do a review eventually. I forgot, but
at the time when we done this review, we couldn't see any award nominations when it came out. So it came out about 2-3 weeks ago. We couldn't see any nominations. I didn't see any nominations. We're seeing nothing. It might have been by now by the time it comes out, but it's still absolutely exceptional.
But yeah, it really bothers me that if the Oscars are supposed to be the best of the best, then don't just go by, but it's got. I mean, the Oscars got stuff like you got to have X number of ethnically diverse cast in it or the crew in it and to get nominated and stuff like that. And yeah, I understand why they do that, but at the same time, I think it should just be a purely art based thing, and it should be whatever's the best direction or whatever's got the best screenplay or whatever's got the
if you're making a film and you want to have X amount of people in the film and the people are there you already work with, you shouldn't have to take someone out of the people you work with just to make it ethically diverse. I don't believe in stuff like that. At the end of the day, like I am all for ethical diversity and bringing in people from cultures and all that. But at the end of the day, like if you work with a team of 5 people and they happen to be black or white or Asian or whatever, that's who you work with. That's who you've got. You shouldn't have to change your whole workplace environment just to fit a diversity category. That's insane.
It's like last year when Anthony Hopkins won an Oscar for The Father, and I've only watched that film recently, and it's one of the best. Anthony Hopkins is a like god level actor, and it's one of his best performances he's ever done. He's absolutely phenomenal. It's a phenomenal movie, and people were saying that he shouldn't have won. Well, why shouldn't? Have you watched it? Because it was when what's his name, Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman had just died, and they thought he should have won for Ma Betty's
some Betty's Bottom, something, can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I was going to say Ma Betty's Big Bottom, but that's not what it's called. But I watched that movie, I didn't think it was that great, and I thought he was all right in it, like he was in most things. He was all right. He wasn't fantastic, but you watch Anthony Hopkins in this movie, it's a stunning performance. It's phenomenal from start to finish. And it's such a touching subject. It's all about dementia and all this sort of stuff. And it's something that's. I mean, I had a family member in the last couple of years die from dementia. So it's something that I didn't fully understand. But the way they do that movie is just so clever, and he's so good in it. And it's just like, how could anybody who's watched that movie say that he doesn't deserve that award for it?
Yeah, I've not seen it, so I can't judge. I'm assuming
it's on Prime. You should watch it.
I'm definitely going to. You never know; it could be a next review. Who knows? So the only thing that I'm going to add that I want to put forward about Mass is it's easily moved into my top 10 favorite acting films I've seen in a long time, 100%. And it is easily. Do you know what? I'm probably very, very confident. 2022 top of my list. It's easily going to be in my top 5. I think it's going to be very hard to beat. I don't think Army of the Dead.
You said that last year. You said that last year about Promising Young Women, wasn't it? In your top 5, Chris? So.
It was in my top 10.
I wasn't your top 5 though.
No. Oh, that's very okay.
I would agree. I think you'll be hard pressed to. I think there may be some films you maybe enjoy more, but from a purely filmmaking standpoint, and it's a fantastic movie. It's a great. It's not even plot driven. This movie, it's dialogue driven. It's character. It's about character and dialogue and consequence and nature over nurture and all that sort of. It's like quite. I spent days afterwards thinking about all the philosophy going on.
It's stuck in my head for days, dude. Stuck in my head for days. That's one of the things about this film.
Basically, she just listened to all of my suggestions in future, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. You should watch Army of the Dead again.
Oh, I shouldn't. I really shouldn't.
So I'm pretty confident that this is definitely going to be in my top 10, at least, maybe top 5, don't know. But certainly, the only other film I'll kind of compare it to before I go was a film called Closer from years ago, which was Jude Law, Natalie Portman and stuff. It's very, very, very close to that kind of style.
Yeah, the other one I thought it was a bit like oh my god, what was it called? It was Sienna Miller and Paul Giamatti.
Interview.
Yeah, interview. Yeah, and it's a bit like that. It's all in one room, and just them talking and stuff, which is a really good movie as well. If people haven't seen that.
If I ever speak to anybody on the basis of acting, there's films that I do go back to. One of them was always Closer. I always said go back and watch how people portray each other and the story and the words and all that. Closer. And now
that's the one when Natalie Portman's a stripper, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
It's a good movie. That's a very good movie.
I've always said go back to a movie like that if you want to learn about acting, if you want to know how people behave and speak to each other. And Mass has now become probably my more recent version of a film that I'm going to say to people, if you want to look at really, really good acting and learn a little bit about acting in general, watch Mass, because that's now one of those movies that I'm going to recommend. So it's so high on my list. So high on my list now.
Like I said, the crazy scores on all the review websites, 95% Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's 7.7 on Metacritic, and crazy high reviews for a film that cost less than $300,000 to make. And like you said earlier, most of that's probably just salaries. Yeah.
I think I'm going to throw it out there again just before we get to the end, because I'm always a stickler for getting a good interview. But Fran Kranz, I'm going to put you in a tweet. I'm going to harass your agent. Come on the show, have me and Nathan just talk to you about this film. We really want to.
Just film in general.
Yeah.
the guy obviously knows cinema if he can make this,
Yeah, he did. Yeah, you're an absolute legend, and we absolutely loved your film, and we love to talk to you. And if you are watching this episode, I could not recommend this movie anymore. If you want a movie that is really about just some of the best acting you're going to see over the next decade, over the last 20 years, it's incredible, absolutely incredible. But thank you very much, Nathan.
No problem.
Another good episode, and we can do this all day.